Hey, welcome back to my channel. So today's video, I am going to talk about this case that disturbed me and how not honoring yourself and listening to your intuition can be fatal. So the case that we're going to talk about today is the case of Faith Green and Gregory Green. If you're not familiar with it, I will give you a little background on it. So I watched the full episode on this case on the ID channel. The show is called Evil Lives Here. So we have this case pissed me off so bad, and the mama pissed me off to the lady, and I don't want to victim blame or nothing, but she really pissed me off. But anyway, so Gregory Green was incarcerated. Yeah, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Anyway, he was jailed for murder, and I think he did 16 years in jail for murder. So Faith's father was a pastor of a church, and so he worked with inmates to try to get them acclimated back into society, right? So he wrote a letter to the parole board because I guess he had been working with him while he was in jail. So he wrote a letter to the parole board, basically vouching for him to be paroled, saying how he changed or whatever. So boom, that happens. He gets out of jail, and Gregory shows up at church. And Faith, which is the pastor's daughter, she had a crush on Gregory since she was 14 years old. So she said he was 10 years older than her. So when she was 14, he was 24, and they used to talk in church, blase blase, and she had a crush on him. So she seen him again when she was in her 30s, and that's when they reconnected. So she got back with her little crush, her little teenage crush, and she was so happy about that. Now, she claims that she didn't know why he was in jail, like the whole story behind why he was in jail, and she never questioned it. She figured if it was so bad, they wouldn't have let him out, is what she says. And then as she continues to tell the story, she says she asked him, like, what did he do? Why was he in jail? And he told her that it was self-defense as to why he was in jail, and he killed why he killed his wife or whatever, because that's who he murdered, his wife, his previous wife. So she says he told her that it was self-defense. They was arguing, he pushed her, and she bumped her head. She fell and hit her head, and she died. That's what he tells her. And so she just continues to go on with the relationship. Not a red flag don't go off in her head that something ain't right about that. Like, you killed your wife. But yeah, I'm going to continue just to go ahead and date you despite that. And so they end up dating. And let's see, because I'm just looking at my notes. Sorry. So they end up dating. They're in a relationship, and her two kids. She, like I said, she had two kids, two older kids, a son and a daughter. And come to find out, the daughter never liked Gregory, but Faith is the mother. Let her tell it. She never knew her daughter didn't like Gregory. She didn't find that out until she read her diary after she passed. But then she kind of, if you listen to the story, like, she kind of contradicts herself as she goes along. But I think, like, my opinion, and I could be wrong, but like most women, they ignore the signs that something ain't right with this person just so they could have somebody, just because they don't want to be alone. so they can have somebody to be with. You know what I'm saying? And you know when your kids don't like somebody. You know when if you attentive mother, you know when your kids don't like somebody. And sometimes women, oftentimes women would ignore their children not liking that person and continue to date that person just because they want a man in their life. And I believe that's what happened here and with this story. um but anyway, so the oldest daughter never liked him. And a thing that caught me too was when she said when she seen him in a church, when she first seen him in church again. Now this is Faith. When she first saw him in church again, she got butterflies in her stomach. And I'm thinking, like, those butterflies in your stomach was your body's way of telling you, your intuition telling you that this is not the person for you, to stay far away from this person. However, we have been conditioned to think that feeling butterflies for someone is a good thing, when actually it's our body, and our body telling us, warning us that this person is not good for us. But we don't listen. So anyway, she said she felt those butterflies, and then they start dating, and she says she starts to get signs about him. She's starting to pick up the signs that something may not be right with Gregory. She says he like his moods would change. He'd be hot and cold, and he was extremely quiet. She says, like he was hiding something, hiding secrets or something. But she just brushed it off because she thought he was just an introvert or whatever. So again, she's ignoring her intuition just to be in a relationship with this man. And she just got a feeling that something wasn't right, and she started feeling something. She's like, it's something unsettling about him, something uneasy about him. So she decides to break up with him. So they break up, and when they break up, she finds out that she's pregnant. So because she finds out she's pregnant, they get back together. Now they get back together, and she still has an uneasy feeling about this man. So, you know what she does? Still feeling uneasy about this man? She decides to ignore those feelings, and she decides to go ahead and marry this man who's hot and cold. His personality is constantly changing. You have unsettling feelings about him. You don't feel comfortable around him. But you go ahead because you had another baby by him. You ignore all that, and you marry this man. She still married him, and throughout the whole interview, like when she's telling her story, all she's doing is making excuses for him. Like, oh, I just thought maybe he was just having a bad day, and if he didn't want to talk about something, I just let it slide or whatever. Just making excuses for him. So they continue the relationship. She noticed that he's starting to get more, his temper is starting to get out of control or whatever. And she says the oldest daughter, is just like, something's not right with him. Like, why he getting angry so fast or mad so fast? And she again making excuses for him and justifying it or whatever. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna leave him again. So she was gonna leave him until she got pregnant by him again. So she gives birth to her second daughter with him. So now she has 4 kids: an older son, an older daughter, and 2 younger daughters by him. So instead of leaving, she stays again, and she tries to work it out. Now the relationship progresses, and she still feels uncomfortable around him. Now she's starting to fear him. Like, the arguments are progressing. He's starting to get worse, and She says one night she had pencils in her robe, like sharpened pencils in the robe, because she was so fearful of him. And so if he attacked her, she could stab him with the pencils. And that's when she knew she had to leave or whatever. Again. So, and she also mentioned that their daughter, because I don't want to say the kid's name. So the oldest daughter that she had with him, not her other two, but the oldest daughter that she had with him, like his anger was so bad that that their child together, the older one, would start biting her nails whenever he would have an outburst. So that poor baby suffering from anxiety, biting her nails and everything due to her father, and yet you still want to stay in that environment and raise your kids in that environment just to save face. Or I just don't get it. Like, she really pissed me off, and I don't want to victim blame her, and I don't want it to come out like I'm victim blaming, but she really pissed me off. Like, really, she really pissed me off. Weak women like that really grinds my gears, and I'm not being judgmental, but you gotta call a spade a spade. Anyway, so she decides to, after that, she's like, okay, after the incident in the room with the pencils, she says, okay, I'm gonna leave him or whatever. So she decides to leave him again. She leaves him. And so they're doing visitation, and she's saying like he would have her meet in isolated places where no one was around, and she felt super uncomfortable and fearful of that. And so she changed locations where they met to get the kids, and she felt much safer when she was around a lot of people to do drop off. So they was broke up for 2 years. 2 years they was broken up, and he sweet talked his way back into her life. Anyway, so he sweet talks his way back into her life, and so she decides to go ahead and go back to him and give him another chance or whatever. So they was together for a couple of more months when she decided to go back to him, and she said she felt duped, that he tricked her thinking that he had changed and he was the same or whatever. And so she was like, okay, I'm gonna leave him again. This is gonna be final of me leaving him. Before she could get the chance to leave him, this man woke her up in the middle of the night out of her sleep and made her get up and go to the front room. When she made it down to the front room, she saw her son standing in the front room. The man, Gregory, pulls out zip ties and orders the son to tie up Faith, his mother. The son tries to talk his way out of it. Like, let's talk about this. He ain't trying to hear it. So he pulls out a gun and demands him to tie his mother up. So he ties her up, and then Gregory zip ties the son. Then he brings her oldest daughter downstairs and ties her up. Once all three of them are in the front room tied up, he takes them down to the basement and tie their hands and their feet together. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot another important detail. When one day they was all out, not all, her, Faith, Greg, and their two children together were out. The older kids was doing something else. And he made a statement like, what if it was just the four of us? Like this. And she's like, what? What do you mean? There's 6 of us. What do you want me to do? Get my other kids away? And I guess she made some statement like, no, we are a family. It's the 6 of us. And apparently he didn't like that. That would have been another red flag. Ugh, she pissed me off so bad. Like, man. Anyway, so back to, he takes them downstairs or whatever, has them tied up with the gun still pointed at them. And he asked, and she noticed he kept going back from the garage to the basement or whatever. And so he asked her if he wants to see the other two daughters, their kids together, the little daughters. And she says, yeah. So he walks over to her oldest daughter and shoots her twice. Then he walks over to the son, shoots him once. Then he goes to Faith, shoots her twice, and then he takes a box cutter and slices her face up from here to here. And he calls the police and he admits what he did. And the police comes and she goes to the hospital. He goes off to jail. And when she wakes up, she still thinks her other two kids are alive, but comes to find out the reason why he kept going to the garage is because the two little younger daughters were inside the car, and he basically eliminated them with carbon monoxide poisoning. And she said when she's retelling this, back to the part about eliminate, not if it was just us four, she said she thinks he didn't want the oldest daughter around because she was outspoken and she would say how she felt. So if she would do this and say how she felt, how didn't you know? Like, how didn't you know that she had a problem with this man? And so that's why I was so upset with the mother, because she kept giving excuses for his behavior. She kept ignoring her intuition just to stay with this man, like ignoring her daughter. Like, as a mother, you know when something ain't right. Ignoring her children's feelings and basically put her children in danger. Like, that's the way I see it. Like, and then she when it finds out, like when she's in the hospital, she then learns, she says, what really happened to his wife, his ex-wife. His ex-wife was 7 months pregnant and he stabbed her to death, and that's how she died. And so she says she doesn't have a relationship with her father because, or she really doesn't talk to her father because he didn't tell her. But then she says her father didn't know all the details, and she felt like Greg manipulated her entire family. So if you feel like he manipulated your entire family, why aren't you talking to your dad? It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, that whole story, like everything she said, it just really, that whole story just really made me mad, because those kids probably would have still been living and alive if she would have just trusted her first intuition initially, even before she got pregnant with the last two. Just trusted herself and cut all ties with that man. You know what I'm saying? And you're supposed to protect your children at all costs. Instead, you leave them into danger. And reading the daughter's diary, she's like, mom is obsessed with him. She's like, the daughter's like, everybody likes Gregory, but I don't like him. There's something about him that I don't like. And mom is obsessed with him. And every time Gregory comes around, mom changes. So that's what the little girl wrote. I don't know. It's just sad. And so that's what I was saying. Like, when you dishonor yourself, you go against your intuition, it can lead to a tragedy. And now this woman, and he purposely left her alive, because he said it himself. He purposely left her alive so she could deal with this and be in pain and just have to live with the fact of what she did, because he, like a narcissist, blames her for what he did. like she's the reason why he decided to go off the deep end and do that. But that man was already crazy, and I don't know. I just feel like she failed her children trying to live up to some teenage crush, and oh, I'm gonna live happily ever after with my teenage crush. And I don't know. Y'all should just go, if you want, you should go watch it. Again, it's on the ID channel. It's called Evil Lives Here. I believe it's season 12. And I think the title is A Special Place in Hell or something like that. But yeah, that lady really pissed me off. She really made me so mad. Those innocent kids just eliminated when I think they could have been saved. And the dad being a pastor, like, why would you okay your daughter to marry a man like that? I don't know. But ladies, please stop being desperate for attention, desperate to be in a relationship or afraid to be alone. You don't understand that men can take advantage of that and take advantage of the weakness and use that against you. Like, love yourself. If I know you probably tired of being alone, nobody wants to be alone, but it's okay. Just be by yourself until the right person comes along. And if you got a gut feeling that something ain't right, this person is making you feel uncomfortable, you're fearful for your life, why would you go back to that? If you know he makes you uncomfortable, you have this unsettling feeling about this man, you fear this man, why would you go back to him? Why? That just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would you go back? Why? And jeopardize your kid's life. Now you can't have no more kids because you had a procedure to where you can't have kids anymore. And I'm not taking the blame off of what he did, because what he did was horrible. Yes, but as women, we need to take accountability for what we allow and for ignoring our intuition and not, like, just so we could have somebody like being next to us or being in a relationship with us. It's just so sad. And that the daughter, she knew all along. She knew. She the only one with common sense that can pick up on something ain't right with this man. Yeah, that just. And then when she retelling the story, she like smiling, think of how she met him and like the crush she had on him back when she was 14. Like, something ain't right with that lady. I don't know. But again, I don't want to victim blame. But yeah, leave a comment below and let me know what you think of this case. And let me know if you're going to watch it or research it. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.